So by the end of this video, you're going to learn what are arrays, how are they stored in memory, how to create an array, how to access and modify elements, how to iterate over an array, how to add elements, and how to remove elements. So arrays are just collection of items, usually of a single type. So as you can see here, I have one array, and don't worry about the syntax for now because I'm going to show you later how to create an array. But here's one array. It's a collection defined by these brackets. I'm not sure how they're called. Probably square bracket. Yeah, square bracket. And inside of them you put all your items or elements as we call them. And each element, as you can see later, is identified by an index. So you can have arrays of the same type. Here I have one array, two arrays actually, of the same type. They're integer arrays. They store integer numbers or elements, I should say. But you can have another array, and I don't know why I defined numbers here. I should have made names like Victor, like let's say Marco, etc. So you can have an array of names, or you can have an array of items or elements that are not of the same type like I have here. So let's now see how our array is stored, and it's important for you to know this because actually you see why in a second. So let's imagine, let me pick a different color, or what if I do this? So if I pick this car, and let's imagine this is your memory, and arrays and your memory in your computer on a hard disk or whatever else is divided in blocks like it is here. So let's imagine this is your SSD, and your memory is divided like this in blocks, and in every block there are of course smaller blocks, and they're not like what they're how many. Here I have 12 blocks, but in your memory, actual memory, of course you have maybe millions of blocks. And the thing with array, how are they stored is each element in the array, or all the elements in the array, are stored sequentially to one another. So if you, let's say, are storing, let's say, the even number, you have the 2 here, and just right next to the 2 is the 4, and then you have 6 here right to the 4. So that's what I'm trying to say, that these are stored sequentially. And here, and that's why you can easily identify them or access them. Later you're going to see by index. So starting with an index of 0, so the first element of any array, like I have here. So this is the first element in this array, this is the first element in this customer's array. So all these can be accessed by an index starting from 0. So this is 0, 1, 2, and 3. And all of these blocks in memory have addresses to them. Usually they're typed in hexadecimal. So you have one address like this one, and another one, let's say, like this one. And it's easy for to access them with an index, because all the computer has to do is give me the name, the pointer to the first element, and then just if you want this element, you just give it an index of 2, and what computer will do is just add 2 to this first address, and there you go, you've got this element. So it's very easy to access. Let's see now how you can create an array. So for this purpose I have just opened the index.html file, just not hacking, just boilerplate HTML code. And here I'm just referencing a JavaScript file that I've opened here, in which we're going to create everything. So here if I type in code nerd, I save this, I'll get code nerd printed out to my console or to my browser. So let's see how you go about creating an array. So first we'll use the keyword const, to specify that this is going to be a constant variable, and then give it the name of our array. And I'm going to say numbers. Usually we want to call it in plural because you're storing multiple items. As you say, set array is a collection. So I'm going to say equal to, and I'm going to initialize it a value of this thing. And this square brackets just represent, hey, this is going to be an array. They sort of act as a container for you to store your elements in. So for now, this is an empty array. You can add this if you like, and you don't have to. And I can print this out to the console by just, of course, saying console.log and numbers. And I'm not going to get anything, that's right, because this is an empty array. If I boom expand this, you're going to see that we have this prototype object, and we do have it because array is of type object, and you can see that because we have a prototype object. You can see that the arrays are of type object just by typing it, just by printing out type of, I think, and then saying numbers. If I save this, you're going to see object being printed out. The type of numbers array is object. And let's see how you can add element to this array. So just by going here, adding first element like 1, you separate elements here by a comma, and here I already have 4 elements. And if I print out this array, I'll get my array printed out to the console. So now that we've created this array, let's see how you can access one of its elements. We said that accessing elements is pretty easy because remember how they're stored in memory? They're stored sequentially, so just right after the other. And if I want to now print out, let's say, this number, alright, let's say actually print out the first one so it's easier for you. I want to just say numbers, and in this, again, square brackets, I need to specify the index at which the element I want to access is. So the first element is starting from 0, and that's why I'm going to say 0. And now if I save this and print out, you're going to see that I've got 1 printed out. And that's how you basically access elements. And guess what index are you going to use if you want to access this number, the third one? You're going to use, that's right, 2, because starting from 0, this is 0, index 0, this is index 1, and this is index 2. If I save this, and I'll get 3 printed out. And again, if I want to change at any time some of the array's values or elements, I'm going to access, let's just say I want to change this 4 to 5 for whatever reason. I'm going to say numbers and then 3 because that's the index of the element I want to change, and just assign it a value of 5 just like I would with a normal variable. Now if I console log this numbers array, save this, I'll get 1, 2, 3, and 5. So now that you know how to create an array, how to access and modify its elements, let's see how you can traverse or iterate over an array, because this is a very common thing you would do. So you can do that simply by using a for loop. And first of all, let me just clear this up, that actually because arrays are object, they have this length property on them and a bunch of more methods. So if I say numbers and type in length, and actually if I print this out, you see that this property, I have this property because numbers is an array is an object. So this length property gives us the length, basically the count, how many numbers or how many elements we have in an array. And here we have 4, and if I add in another element like the element 5, I save this, I'll get 5. So it updates, of course. And you can use this property that we have whenever you want to iterate over an array. So I'm going to say for, and here I want to say var, and I'm going to say I in and then say numbers, and then I'm going to add these square brackets for the body of this for. And now if I print out this I variable, I'm going to get, actually I'll delete this, and I'm going to get the numbers from 1 to 0. And now what I'm doing here is I'm creating a variable in each iteration where when I'm passing this numbers array. And here, because I'm using in, I'm getting the index of the actual element and not the actual element. So first of all, I'm getting 0 because we're starting from 0, all the way up to 4 because we have 5 elements. Remember, we're starting from 0, we have 4. And if I want to get the actual elements of the array, here instead of in, I want to type in off. And now if I save this, I'll get 5 printed out 2 times for whatever reason. Oh, that's because I changed this. I changed this to 5. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to get the elements 1 through 5. There is actually another method you can use, which is maybe even more common, and that method is the for each. And this for each takes in and I think it takes in just an arrow function like this. And in this arrow function, here we have the parameters, which will be our item or our element. And in our body of the function, we can do something with that item or element. I would just for now print it out. And as you can see, we get the same result here. We have just an arrow function that its argument basically is the item that we're traversing through. And let's now see how you can add elements or append elements at the end and at the beginning of an array. So for that we use methods once again, because array is an object, remember. We have all these methods available to us and properties like the length property. And to add in an element, use the word push, or method I should say, push. And this method takes in the element as a parameter that we want to add. I'm gonna say, let's say 10. And if I push 10 to this array, we should get the elements 1 through 5 and 10 if I print out the array now. And if I print out this array, should get all the elements plus added 10. There's another method called unshift that adds in an element at the beginning of the array, so as the first element. And now if I use that method with again this method takes in the element you want to add, but instead of adding it or appending it to the end of the array, it will add the element at the beginning of the array as the first element. If I print out the array now, I'll get exactly what I said. 10th element, the 10th value being the first element, and then the remaining 5. And for now we have this array of the elements 1 through 5, and I'm just printing it out here to the console. And conversely, if we want to remove an element, I'm going to show you now how to remove an element from the beginning and from the end. So to remove element from the beginning, you will use a method called shift. And you can call this method, it doesn't take in any arguments, or actually you don't have to at least specify one. And if I just call this method on the array, you'll see that one item is gone, and it's the first one. Shift actually removes just the first element at the array. And to remove the last element, you use a method called pop. And just like that, we're going to pop 5 out of the array. And this method again does not take any arguments. So if you enjoy videos like this one, make sure to subscribe here. Thank you so much for watching, and peace out.